Hi, Madhu.
Hi. Shall we give 2 minutes like before?
Yeah, we'll give you a couple of minutes, please.
So Darshan, we'll start anyway. So I'm sure folks will join. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yes, please, Madhu.
Yeah. Badram karane bihi shruniyama devaha badram pashyema akshabihir yajatraha sthirairangair tushtuvam sastanubihi vashema devahitai yadayuhu swastinah indro vridrashravaha swastinah pusha vishwavedaha swastinah tarksho arishtanemihi swastino bruhaspatir dadatu यो अन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाच इमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयति अखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्नान्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं लसतु श्रीमदानन्दतीर्थेन्दुर्नो हृदम्बरे यद्वचश्चन्द्रिका स्वान्तसन्तापं विनिकृन्तति पदवाक्यप्रमाणज्ञान् प्रणम्य शिरसा गुरून् व्याकरिष्ये यथाभूतं विष्णुतत्त्वविनिर्णयम्. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. So we're doing part 5 of the main Mandukya Upanishad. We've had two other sessions as well. So together, this is our 7th week looking at Mandukya Upanishad. Yeah, one of those most important, terse, subtle, but also deep Upanishad of Atharvana Veda. Okay, so last week I just want to, like before, take a brief recap of what we have done, but just want to remind you the verses of the Mandukya Upanishad that we have done so far. So Harihi Om, Om iti etadaksharam idang sarvam tasya upavyakyanam bhuta bhavat bhavishyaditi sarvam omkara eva yachanya traikalatītam tadapi omkara eva sarvam hi etad brahma ayamatma brahma so ayamatma chatushpat. So we did chatushpat yesterday last time. And what is that Chatushpat, which is the four aspects or the four rupas or the supreme that controls the four states of consciousness of the jivas. So I want to just pull you back. If you remember, we are also combining Mandukya Upanishad along with our Omkara Chintana. So Omkara, as you know, you can look it as an Akhanda word or as two letters or as three letters. So I think we have covered most of the Akhanda, the meaning of Omkara as an Akhanda word and also as Omkara having three syllables. So now we are gradually moving to Omkara as having four components: Akara, Ukara, Makara, and Nada. So when you look at this here, last week we, I think, established very clearly that the consciousness is the state of jivas, which is a dependent state of consciousness, whereas the consciousness of the supreme being is super consciousness, which is an independent state of consciousness. So this super conscious being controls four aspects of the consciousness of the jiva, and this again is indicated by Omkara. So you have Akara, Ukara, Makara, and Nada. Akara, A stands for Apti. Apti means contact with the external world. So the contact with the external world is what we saw last week. Jagaritistana, Bahihi Prajnaha, Shaptangaha, Yekona Vimshati Mukaha, Stulabuk, Vaishwanaraha Pratamaha Padaha. So I think we did in great detail, understood what the name Vaishwanara actually means, what is the state of the waking state, and why we are in samsara, because we have not realized that even in our waking state we are dependent on the supreme being. So that is akara, that stands for apti, which means contact with the external world. So ukara means utkarsha. Utkarsha means moving inwards. Yeah. So what is happening when the jiva is going to sleep? It is moving inwards. Yeah. So that is utkarsha. So that state of the consciousness when it has gone inwards in a state of sleep is what we are going to do this week and hopefully next week. So this week, that state, the dream state, is being discussed as the second state of consciousness of the jivas, which is Swapnasthanaha Antaha Prajnaha Shaptangaha Ekona Vimshati Mukaha Pravivikta Book Tejaso Dvitiya Padaha. So that is Utkarsha. Makara stands for Manam. Manam means merger. Merger means that the Jiva and Brahma, they join together. They do not become one, but they are in close proximity of each other. That is what literally merger means, which is the status of Sushupti. Yatra suptaha na kinchana kamam kamayate na kinchana swapnam pashyati tat sushuptam. Okay, so that is the Sushupti sthana. So these three states, the Akara, Ukara, and Makara, they indicate the states of consciousness of the jiva in samsara. Whereas there is the fourth state of the jiva in moksha, which is indicated by nada. Nada means akara, ukara, makara together. When I say om, that is the nada. So that nada, the fourth component of om, which is the nada, indicates the state of consciousness in moksha. So that is the four aspects of omkara that reminds us that the supreme being controls the four states of the consciousness of the jivas. This is the approach number 11 of omkara tattva. We have done 10 so far, so we are doing 11, and hopefully over the next 2 to 3 weeks we'll cover up to 15 different aspects of om that can be understood through Mandukya Upanishad. Okay, so now another quick reminder of what Jagaritistana is. So Jagaritistana, again, we said there is the external world, then there is the Indriyas. The Indriyas convey the information from the external world. The brain processes it. Brains, one of the components of the brain is the mind. The mind processes also. And then the information is passed on to the jiva, which then says, yes, I am aware of the external world. Yeah, so that is the Jagaritistana. But we also discussed that this jiva is not capable of independent self-initiated action as well, because consciousness at the end of the day is not just being aware of yourself and the external world, but it also indicates the ability to do self-initiated action. And again, we discussed this in great detail last week. So the jiva is not capable of independent self-initiated action, and that we discussed a lot of times. Over the last several months we have touched upon this, and then we said that that aspect of the supreme that controls the conscious state of jiva is the shaptangaha ekona vimshati mukaha vaishwanaraha. And then we also reminded ourselves that aspect of the supreme that controls the waking state is in the right eye, which corresponds to the Agna chakra, which is where the pineal gland is. And we also discussed the role of pineal gland in the sleep and waking cycles and in circadian rhythm, and how that basing that Agna chakra and pineal gland by our ancient rishis is perfectly scientifically sound with regards to the circadian rhythms of sleep and wake cycles. That is about the Jagaritistana. Now, my question here, and I want to open this for discussion in a minute. So we said external world, we said this is the Brahmanda, then we took the Pindanda, we spoke about the Indriyas, brain and the mind, then the Jiva and the Omkara Tattva or Brahman or the Supreme Being. So I've put a question here. Are various components of this equation real or unreal? This is an important philosophical question in Vedanta. And this is what over the last 1500 years, our Vedantic philosophers have asked this fundamental question. Yeah. Is the world that is outside of me real or not? Or is it a mental construct? Yeah. This is a key problem for us. Although most of us don't think that this is an issue or a problem, from a philosophical perspective, this is a deep fundamental problem. So that brings me to the question. So when I look at Brahmanda, and when I say Brahmanda, it also includes the Pindanda. So there are only four possibilities when I look at the existence of the universe. Either the universe is Asat, i.e., it is non existent, or it is Sat, i.e., it is existent, or it has both components. It's both Sat and Asat. Yeah? Sadasat, as it's called. That is existence plus non-existent, or it is Sadasat Vilakshana, that it is different from existent and non-existent. So those are the four states of existence or reality. I won't even say reality, four states of existence that have been discussed in our Vedantic philosophies, as I said, at least for the past 1400 years by various acharyas. Now, before I move to the next section, I just want to take a poll here to understand what our views are here. What do we think? Is the world real, or the world an illusion, or the world different from these two? So what do we think in this audience? So can I take a poll, please? Feel free to just nip in and contribute. Anybody can come in and express their views as to whether they think the world is real or not. Okay, so there is a bit of an airy silence there. That means you're still thinking. So hopefully I'll encourage you to continue to think here. So did I have somebody? Is it Suresh? No.
Yeah, Madhu, Suresh.
Yeah.
I mean, until otherwise, there's no reason to believe what we see is unreal. There's no experience that. I mean, it's imagining an imaginary construct is a distant philosophy. So I would say it's real.
You would say it's real. Thank you, Suresh. Pragnesh.
Yes, I think it is a sadasat. There are certain aspects that we can perceive easily are existent, and there are certain aspects which are not so easily perceivable. So I would say it is a combination.
Okay, thank you, Pragnesh. Anybody else?
In Madhu, this is
So who's that? Okay, so we'll go to Shushrut and Neeta, and then come to Harish. Yeah, Shushrut and Neeta.
I think we in the 9 gems we learned that it is Satyam Jagat. So I would say Satyam.
Okay, good, very good. Thank you, Suresh. Shushrut, Harish.
yeah. So one small variation, again, not based on any scriptural evidence, but from our perspective, it has to be real, given what we experience. Now, somebody that has experienced different state, might think differently, but we cannot say that because we have not experienced. For those that haven't experienced that,
So Harish, what is your view? It's real.
real, yeah.
Okay, so I've got Manjunath Paji and Sheila ji also. They've said that it is Sat. So okay, so I think at least in this audience, what I'm hearing is, the majority of us feel that external world and what we see and perceive in the external world is real. Pragnesh has a mixed view on this. So let's see where it takes us. So what I'm going to do now is just give you a bit of a philosophical. It may be a little bit complicated, but I'll try and simplify this as much as I can. And when we did our Brahma Sutras, we took the the second sutra where it said Atato Brahma Jignasa, then therefore inquiry into Brahman shall begin. And in the second sutra, we gave a definition of who this Brahman is. And not we, Veda Vyasa, our founding father of the Vedantic system, has actually given a definition of who this Brahman is. And he said, Janmadhyasya Yataha, he who is the creator of the universe, etc., is Brahman. So Jayatirtha at that point asks a very pertinent question. And I've got this here, and we've discussed this on a few occasions, but again, it's always well worth bringing it back into out of our memory and recapitulating this. So what did Jayatirtha say? Janmadyasya yataha iti bhagavata sutrakareణ jagat udayadi nimitta karanatvam parasya brahmano lakshanam abhihitam nacha jagat satyatam antarena tad vastavam sambhavati. This is a very, very important point. When Vedavyasa, our founding father of the Vedantic system, has given the definition of Brahman as he who is the creator of this universe, then it is understood, says Jayatirtha, that that creation has to be real. We cannot have a great artist, but his art is false or an illusion or an unreal. If we come to that conclusion, then it would tantamount, it would actually will mean that we are actually accusing the Supreme Brahman of actually fooling us and deceiving us by making an illusory creation of the universe. So Jayatirtha's view there is that if the Vedavyasa is given the definition, then by definition it means that this world is real. Okay, so as Suresh ji mentioned, for us when we are here, the life is real, is a fact. Nobody has proven to me that that this life and this world is otherwise yet. World as an illusion is a hypothesis that has never been proven by experience. I can write anything, I can write any fictitious novel, but the fictitious novel cannot be real. Yeah, so I can claim the way the world does not exist, the world is an illusion, but we as 7 billion human beings actually experience the world as real. And our Veda Vyasa has also defined that this creator is the person who has actually created the universe. So by definition, if he has created this universe, then that universe must actually exist. Yeah. So hold on to that thought, because all forms of knowledge that we have, either through pratyaksha, anumana, and agama, all the evidence only point towards the reality of the universe and not otherwise. But that detailed discussion perhaps maybe for another day. But I just wanted you to hold this thought in this in your mind, that there are different views. At least here, the majority view seems to be Sat, but there is a view that this external world is Asat. Our friends in Buddhist school are famously known for this, that they view the whole world outside is Asat, it's non-existent. And our friends in Advaita school, they believe that this world is neither Sat nor Asat. It is neither a combination of two, because these two are contradictory characters. You cannot have an entity which is neither existent nor existent nor non-existent. So they define the universe as something that is different from Sadasat and define it as Sadasat Vilakshana. So this external universe is given a third state of reality, which is unique to Advaita school of Vedanta. And let them hold on to that view. And if it serves their purpose, well, and that's well and good. But the overwhelming prevailing hypothesis, at least in this audience, to me seems to be that the world is Sat. Okay, let's
Madhu, I
move on.
think somebody has raised the hand. Pragnesh Bhatt raised a hand.
I was a legacy hand, I think he had raised and he has forgotten to.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Yeah, no problem. So those are all the, so remember Asat, Sat and Sadasat Vilakshana. And those of you who are interested in this problem, there is empty bucket loads and volumes of books that have been written to get to the bottom of this problem. Okay. Now, hang on. So my computer is frozen. Oh yeah. Okay.
So,
Yeah. So
Madhuji,
I'm
is
moving
there?
it now. Yeah. So now, once we look at this, and we looked at the Jagaritistana, which is where you're aware of the external world. And if you accept that the external world is Sat, and the sensory input that comes from the external world processed through the brain, which is also Sat, and the evolute of the brain is the mind, which is also Sat, then Jiva, which actually exists, is also Sat, then Brahman, which also exists, is also Sat. Then you can accept the view that consciousness of the external world is also real. Yeah, that consciousness also should be there. That cannot be an illusion. You cannot have an illusory universe, but have a real consciousness of the existence of an illusory universe. That probably does not make sense. So in that context, you need to approach with that frame of mind. If you approach dreams, which is what our Varuna is actually now moving on to, and let's not forget, Varuna as a jiva, he is actually in deep contemplation, and he is looking inwards, and he is looking at the supreme being, and he is adoring him and worshipping him, and he's saying, you do this, you are omnipotent, you are omnipresent, and so on and so forth. And then he has come into the pindanda, and he is saying, in this pindanda, look, you are looking after me in the waking state. And now he is adoring the supreme in the dream state. So in Vedantic philosophy and in Vedic philosophy, in Sanatana Dharma in particular, the emergence of the dream state is philosophically hugely significant. And our rishis, our philosophers, have actually looked at this problem of the dream state in some great detail. And my hope today is to inspire you and enthuse you the view of our rishis and the view of the Upanishads. And Devalji has also very kindly come in to contribute from a more scientific perspective of dream. And the aim here is to match these two views and see where they overlap and where they don't overlap. Okay, so that is the intentions of today's session. So what is the dream state? So Varuna describes Swapnasthanaha Antaha Prajnaha. So he says Antaha Prajnaha. If you look at the previous verse, Jagaritistanaha Bahihi Prajnaha. So he defines Jagaritistana as awareness of the external world. Bahi means outside. Antaha means inside. So Antaha Prajnaha, consciousness of the inner world, is the dream state. So what is actually the dream state? So we've all got drifting off to sleep. So the dream state, according to the rishis, is that our indriyas, the body is still there, the body is still alive, breathing, heart is beating, metabolism is still going on, but the body's contact with the external world is shut off. That is, the eyes are closed, the ears, the touch, the smell, the taste. Those indriyas have all closed when you are in drifting off to sleep. So you are not aware of the external world. So that is the first situation for the dream, for the sleep state. But in the dream state, the brain and the mind is still active. They're still processing information, they're still doing something, and they're constantly sending this info input to the jivas. So the jiva is still perceiving the activities of the brain and the mind. So that is the sleep state. Yeah. Whereas the external world has been shut off because the indriyas have stopped functioning, or they have ceased to function temporarily. So it is just the activity of the brain, which is inside you, mind, which is inside you. So this jiva is actually seeing what is going on in the brain and the mind. And that is what Varuna is saying here. Antaha prajna, what is happening inside you. Okay, so that is the first view that we need to all agree. And there is no controversy here as to what is that sleep state actually is. Now, my next question here is the dream state then real or an illusion? So previously we had a poll of whether the external world is a real or an illusion. Now I am asking this question to the team as to whether do we think the dream state is a real or an illusion? Yeah, I've got two examples here. Is the dream state like a superimposition of a silver on a conch shell, or superimposition of a snake on a rope? Is this just a superimposition? Is this an illusion? These two are classic examples of illusion in Vedantic philosophy. Or is this like this child watching a cartoon on a TV, and is this TV like the mind, and the jiva is just watching something that is going on in the mind? Yeah, so those are the two possibilities. Is this real or is this an illusion? So can I have some contributions there? Again, it's a poll question, and please feel free to nip in and put in your thoughts.
I think it's more like the child example.
So okay, thank you, Harish. So you think it's a kind of a real situation, because in this situation the child has to be there, the TV has to be there, and there has to be some TV station that is broadcasting this whatever cartoon it is, and then it's coming up on the television screen. So there has to be so many reals in this equation for this whole situation to be real. So I presume Harish accepts all those realities as reals.
Yes, it is real for the person who's experiencing it, but for the other players that may be in the dream, it may not be. But for the one experiencing, yeah, yes.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah, thank you. Anybody else?
It is
Okay,
real,
so
Madhu, it is real. I mean, the same thing, like the the person who is watching the child who's watching the television, like that, if I switch off the electricity or the power goes off, yeah, then it is not there, yeah, and or something I'm disturbed, then I go to another attention, like something more attentive comes to me, like, and the child goes on to that rather than clinging onto the television. So that's the way, like when we are dreaming, then something alerts us, some sort of noise or something extreme happens, we are able to take our consciousness to the other level, to whatever is happening. So if somebody opens the door or something like that, so yes, so we are able to switch from that to the other side. So it is real, yeah.
okay, thank you. So I'm glad nobody has said so far it's illusion, because dream as an illusion is a view of the Buddhist school. Dream as an illusion is a view of the Advaita school of Vedanta. So those two schools consider dream as an illusion, and a whole plethora of theories and hypotheses have evolved around the illusory nature of the dream. So the simple example, for example, is just as dream is an illusion, when you are in waking state, the external world is also an illusion. The external world is an illusion, like the dream, which is also an illusion. How does a dream disappear? When you wake up, the dream disappears. Similarly, with the advent of the knowledge of Brahman and Jiva Brahma Aikya, the illusory nature of the universe also disappears and you become Brahman. So these are all views. These are all, views of the Advaita school of Vedanta. But I just want to illustrate the differences of views within Advaita Vedanta and other schools of Vedanta, which actually deals with this problem of dream, whether it is real or illusion. And to me, again, this audience, I think, overwhelmingly agree that dreams are real. And that, I think, has been the view of the rishis as well. Sorry, Sudarshan, you were going to
Yeah,
say something.
Madhu, yeah, I mean, what it is, the why they are thinking Buddhists and the Advaita is thinking, well, it's not without a reason as well, isn't it? Illusion is where, like, you think like there's a rope as a snake, and then once your real knowledge comes, you think like, no, no, it is a rope, yeah. So when you are in an altered state, in the same way, like, if imagine you are chased by a tiger in your dream, yeah, and then you completely fear for your life, and then you do everything, you shout or whatever, and then sort of the minute it comes out of it, there's no tiger, yeah. So it is for that reason, maybe they thought it as an illusion.
Yeah, okay, good point, Sudarshan. Completely agree with you on that. So we will kind of handle these things as we go along in subsequent slides. So what are we interested in? We are interested in what is the view of the Upanishads? What is the view of the Vedas and the Upanishads about dreams? Yeah, what do they say? Okay. Now, dream is such an important topic in Vedantic philosophy that Vedavyasa decided to give attention in 4 sutras. Among 564 sutras, he takes 4 sutras in the third adhyaya, second pada. It's called Bhakti Pada. It's called Sandhyadikaranam. Yeah, he he writes 4 sutras and describes the dream. And I think I'm really amazed at the scientific rigor in which Vedavyasa has actually approached this problem. So he does 4 sutras. He says, Om Sandesh Rishtirahahi, Nirmataram Chaike Putradayascha, Maya Matram tu Karshneya Anabivyakta Swarupatvat, Suchakashcha hi Shruter Achakshate cha Tadvidaha Om. So 4 sutras he does to illustrate the nature of dreams. Without going into full details of this, and he cites various Upanishads. So Vishaya Vakyas are in various Upanishads that talk about the dream, who creates the dream, the reality of dream. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, not only in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Katha Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, Aitareya Upanishad, Rig Veda, Shatapatha Brahmana, all these areas you will see a lot of discussion about dreams. So Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says a very nice statement. It says, Tasya va etasya purushasya dve eva sthane bhavata idam cha param lokam sthanam cha sandhyam tritiyam swapna sthanam. Okay, Sandhya means in the middle. So when you do Sandhya Vandana, you do between dawn and dusk. You do it in that in-between state. So Sandhya means in between. In between what? In between waking state and a dreamless sleep. That middle state is called Sandhya. Okay, so the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad here says, in the dream state, what is happening? And it gives a very beautiful example, exactly like the tiger that Sudarshan was talking about. It says, Na tatra rata, na rata yoga, na panta, no bhavati. Okay, before dream, there is no chariot. There is no chariots, the yoke of the chariot. There is no horse. Nothing was there. Then what happens? This fellow dreams. Then ata rata tatra yogat pantaha srujate. Then in that state of dream, then what has happened? This chariot, this horse, this rain, somebody riding the chariot has appeared. Srujate, no, I won't say, has been created. Srujate is an important word. Srujate has been created around the dream state. And the Upanishad says, Sahi Karta. Karta means creator. Okay. Saha he Karta. He creates what? At that dream state, previously there was no chariot, but now the chariot has appeared. Okay. So the dreams are created. So that is the first point that I want to illustrate, that dreams are created. Now to give further examples, Vyasa then takes another sutra called Nirmataram Chaike Putradayascha. So where he takes Katha Upanishad, and in Katha Upanishad there is a similar verse. Ya Esha Supteshu Jagrati Kamam Kamam Purusho Nirmamanaha. So Purusha, in that word, Purusha means the supreme Purusha, Nirmamanaha. He creates who? Putra. You may have a very nice plot in your dream where you're seeing your wife, children, brothers, sisters, they're all arguing with each other. So that kind of a dream you will get. And Katha Upanishad says, this Purusha, Nirmamanaha, he creates it. Gaupavana Shruti also says similar kind of things and says this Purusha creates the dreams. So in the Vedas, there is an overwhelming evidence of folks actually saying again and again that dreams are being created. So nowhere in the Vedas it says dreams are an illusion. There's some kind of a Maya that's happened, but it is actually being created. And think about what I've said before about Janmadhyasya Yataha. If it has been created, then it has to be real. Okay, so that is what I've said. So that is the first line of argument to say that the jiva, that the dream is actually created. That means it has to be real. Okay, the question of whether are jivas capable of starting and ending a dream at will, that is a separate question, but we'll come to that next. Can we actually decide what we are going to dream, how long we are going to dream, and in our dream all our favorite characters are going to come? Can we make that decision as jivas? Is what the Upanishad and the rishis want us to think about. So we will deal
So,
with it.
Madhuji, Mohan here, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How are we defining the term real here? And I will explain why I'm asking the question. That dreams are real in the sense that dreams exist. So when we are talking about dreams, we are using a noun dream. So since there is a name, the name has to be of something. So that something therefore is, right? So in that sense, dream is. So if we are saying the reality in terms of does this exist, then in that sense, dream is real. Or are we saying dream is real as in you and I are real and our other experiences?
So yeah, good question, Mohan. Just hold that thought because I've got a couple of slides coming in the future in the next few minutes. Hopefully that will answer your question. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
So thanks, Mohan, for that. Let's pulling myself back now. So if the dreams are created, then it has to be real. Hold on to that hypothesis. So now the next question is, if the dreams are created and if they are real, there must be two things there. There must be a material cause for the dream, and there must be an efficient cause of the dream. So let me illustrate this further. If you are going to make a pot, you need to have a clod of clay. That is the upadana karana or material cause. And then you need to have a potter, who is the fellow who makes the pot, who is the efficient cause or the nimitta karana. So you need to have upadana karana and a nimitta karana. So Veda Vyasa actually takes this issue and said, if we are all dreaming, what is the upadana karana? What is the clod of clay by which these dreams are made? What is the essential ingredients by which the dreams are made? And who is the person who is actually making the dreams is the next question. Okay, so there he takes up this problem and takes a very scientific view of this, and he puts a very important sutra called Maya Matram tu Karshnena Anabhivyaktaha Swarupatvat. Okay, so what is this word Maya Matram here? This Maya Matram is such an important word, and as we have seen before on millions of occasions, that in the Upanishads and the Vedas, when there are words, and there are all these words, number one, the Vedic Sanskrit and the language of the Vedas is etymological. Yeah, every word needs to be split to understand what is the meaning of that word. First point. The second one, many Sanskrit words have multiple meanings. The way in which you approach the word will give you multiple meanings. So prakarana becomes very, very important. The contextual relevance of the word then also becomes important. The third point, which is very important that many friends forget in other schools, is when Vedavyasa wrote the Badara, when he wrote the sutras, or when the rishis, saw these Upanishads and Vedas, the language of the rishis, the language of Badarayana, the language of the Vedic Sanskrit at that time is entirely different from the colloquial Sanskrit that we use in modern times. Okay, so when I say Maya Matram, if you take colloquial Sanskrit, it says, oh, this dream is Maya Matra. This is only Maya. Okay, is that the meaning of the colloquial Sanskrit meaning that needs to be introduced here? Or we should go to Vedic Sanskrit and see what Veda Vyasa was talking about. So these are all the arguments. I hope you will find this interesting. The reason why I say that is, when you open up Maya Matra, then it gives you a scientific view of how dreams are created and how Veda Vyasa, and one of the definitions of sutra, as you know, is alpaksharam. That is, with very few words, you compress a lot of concepts. And this Maya Matra word is a classic example of that. Let us see how it is. So Maya Matram, you split into two, Maya and Matram. Maya, okay, the word Maya in Vedic Sanskrit has got so many meanings. I have listed a few. Maya can mean intelligence, it can mean knowledge, it can mean will, it can mean Mahima, it can mean Mahamaya, it can mean Mohini, it can mean Prakriti, it can mean Chetana Prakriti, it can mean ignorance, it can mean illusion. Yeah, so there are so many things, and it also means Vasanas. Vasanas, or the imprints in the memory, are also called Maya. Look at Skanda Smriti. It actually gives you a definition of what Maya is. Mahamaya iti avidyeti niyatir mohini iti cha prakritir vasane iti evam tava icha ananta katyate. Okay, very, very clear definition of Maya. So what I'm trying to get at is, when we see these words in the Upanishads and Vedas, we should actually find internal evidence within the scriptures itself to understand their meaning, and we should not create our own assumptions and come up with a hypothesis. So for example, in certain schools of Vedanta, Maya Matram would taken as, oh, this dream is an illusion because Vedavyasa has said it's Maya Matra. Whereas in other schools, they will actually go deep into Maya Matra, open it up and see what is it that our man is saying. So if you take the second view, then there are two. There are many meanings for Maya. One of it is Brahman, Brahman's Icha, his will. That is called Maya. Jivas, vasanas, or imprints of the memory is also called Maya. The evidence is all there within the scriptures. Okay, hold on to that idea. God's will, Jivas, vasanas. What does matram means? You would have heard a lot of these words in Sanskrit. Matram, mantram, shastram, sutram. They're all this tram, tran pratyaya. There is this tran pratyaya that comes in all this. So that indicates an object. Man means to create. Okay, so when you take Maya Matram, then these concepts come in. Brahman Sicha, Jiva's Vasana, to create some objects. Now I hope you understand where I am getting at, because let's go to our fundamental equation. So you got the Jiva. Inside the Jiva is Brahman. The Jiva, as you know, is covered by 5 koshas. So I'm going to pause there. Who is going to tell me all the 5 koshas and also indicate where the mind and which component of the kosha, the mind, the memory, the deep memory and all is there? So who, please, can I have some contributions there, please? Coverings of the Jiva.
Manomaya kosha,
Yeah. Give me all the 5, Sudarshan.
Annamaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, Anandamaya kosha.
Brilliant. Well done. So Annamaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, that is easy. Then Manonmaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, Anandamaya kosha. So these are all subtle coverings of the Jivas. So Manonmaya kosha is Manas, Buddhi, Ahankara. Vijnanamaya kosha is Chitta. Anandamaya kosha is Chetana, as it's called, the 5 components of the mind. The fourth component of mind is called Chitta. Chitta means memory shell. Yeah. And Chetana means deep memory. And deep memory, according to Vedic philosophy, is memory from previous lives. Yeah. Chitta will be memory from your childhood, for example, or memory of all the experiences that you might have had. They've all made some marks in your, Vijnanamaya kosha. Yeah. So these vasanas are there in that subtle covering of the brain, subtle covering of the jiva, and our rishis describe it as vasanas, and they are in the subconscious mind. Okay. So when I say Maya Matram, that is what it means. Now there is also an answer here for what Sudarshan, I think Mohan also mentioned that. So what Veda Vyasa here says is Karshnena Anabhivyakta Swarupatvat. So that is what is the definition of the dream state. Karshnena means whole. So tiger, as Sudarshan said, tiger, when I see tiger in a safari, that tiger in 3-dimensional space, it is complete in all its aspects that I am seeing. That is called Karshna. Karshnena means whole. Yeah. Abhivyakta. So when I am in the safari, I have seen Abhivyakta means Abhitaha Vyaktaha. Vyaktaha means manifested. Abhitaha means fully manifested. So that tiger in a safari is fully manifested and I am seeing. Whereas the dream state is not like that. Dream state is where that imprints of the tiger Sudarshan has actually gone into your chitta, in your Vijnana, Maya Kosha. And what has happened is that which was there in your subconscious mind, that imprint has now come to the consciousness. That subtle aspect of the tiger in some chemical electrical form is what that you are seeing, and that has been created, is what Sutrakara is telling us here. So yes, the Brahma there, the illusion there is identifying what you have seen in the dream with the tiger that you have seen outside. That is where the Brahma is. But the creation of that electrical activity of the partial imprints in the memory shell of the tiger that you've seen in the external world is absolutely real, because it is an electrical activity and a chemical modification of the mind, which is what Badarayana is coming here. So that is a very important point of differentiation. Most people forget this concept that dreams are real. The chemical modification, electrical activity of the dream is real. Okay. External world, what I see and kind of electrical activity that it induces in my brain and mind is also real. But to say that electrical activity is the same as the electrical activity in dream is not right. Okay. They are two different things, but they are reality based on their own merits. It is the problem arises only when you compare this reality, which is real, with that reality that is also real. You cannot say that they are the same. That is where the problem is. So I hope, Sudarshan, that answers this question, and also Mohan's question there. By this particular sutra, which is such a genius sutra of Veda Vyasa, and it is completely scientific from where I look at it. So now the question is, can the vasanas in subconsciousness be a random event? These vasanas, these are there in the Vijnanamaya Kosha, and every day we go to sleep, and these vasanas, they come up. The question is it a random event, or is it some regulated, there is some logic to all this, is the next question that the rishis ask when they think about the dream. So the question there is mind on its own capable of generating a dream event with a theme and a plot? And remember, mind is a jada. And we've always come with this concept of rachana na anupapatteshcha. That sutra in last week when we looked at it, that jada cannot have self-initiated planned action. So the next question is jiva then capable of drafting a theme or a plot for its dreams? Again, that seems unlikely, because however I want to see a heroine in my dream, she is not going to come. I can decide what I want, but my dream is not what I make it. I'm just lying down there and the dream comes and I seize. So jiva capable of designing a dream is actually out of question. Yeah. So then we come to the third possibility. Supreme alone is the creator and exhibitor of our dreams. So that is a logical deduction by which our rishis address this problem of dream, starting from vasanas, and then how those vasanas emerge into consciousness, and what is it, a random event or is it a non-random event? If it is it cannot be a random event, because we have to accept, although the dreams can be bizarre, there is a sequence to it. There is an element of logic to it. There is a plot to it. So there is a story in a dream. So there is a bit of non-randomness there. So in that sense, it is not a random event. And the jivas can't do it. So we have to then think about whether it is the Supreme who creates and exhibits our dream. And mind you, this three concepts has been debated and dissected out in the three schools of Vedanta. Okay, so the two realistic schools will initially take a hypothesis: can jivas do it? And they arrive, no, jivas can't do it. Supreme being alone can create the dream, is the view of the realistic schools. The non-realistic schools view is dream is just an activity of the mind, which is an illusion. Okay, so I let you guys make the decision as to where the logic is, but we will move to the next slide. Now, the next important concept of dreams is they can bring out prophecies, and we all know that. And that is what Veda Vyasa also says, to prove that dreams are real, because they have causal efficiency. Now, for example, if I'm thirsty and I'm in a desert and I see a mirage, can I drink water from the mirage and my thirst will be quenched? No. So that is called Artha Kriya Karitva. So that is one of the definitions of reality, is that it should satisfy something. You should experience it and it should do some work. Okay, so the next question is, can dreams actually have some work? Do they actually do in our state? Is it just a random thing and that's it? Or do they have a purpose in our existence? And our great genius Veda Vyasa takes up this question, and he says, Suchakashta hi shrutehe achakshate cha tadvidaha. Suchakaha means it gives some prophecies. It tells something about something that is going to happen. That is what dreams say. So in Chandogya Upanishad, for example, and some of us may be very happy here to think about this, Tad Esha Shloko Yada Karmasu Kamyeshu Striyam Swapneshu Pashyanti. So what it means is, suppose if you want some action, something to be fulfilled, and you go, say tomorrow you have a major project and that needs to be completed, and you go to bed and you sleep, and if a beautiful woman comes in your sleep, Chandogya Upanishad says your action tomorrow will be fulfilled. And I presume it is vice versa, and it will work the other way around for ladies, and they'll be able to see a man, a handsome man, and that would mean that what they wanted to do the following day would actually be fulfilled. Chandogya Upanishad talks about this kind of prophecies, and Sutrakara Vedavyasa actually cites this. Now, it is not just in Chandogya Upanishad. Aitreya Aranyaka, for those of you who might have studied this, third Adhyaya, there is a description of 10 bad dreams. If you happen to see this, it's bad omen. Rig Veda, Atharva Veda talks about these kind of dreams. King Siddhartha, some of you might have read that story. He actually learns about what are the 72 auspicious dreams. Mahavira, Trishala's mother, had 16 auspicious dreams before giving birth to Mahavira. Okay, so dreams is all over in our traditions, and we feel dreams have prophecies that they can actually predict something that can happen. And in Vaishnavism, look at Andal. Yeah, Sudarshan will be very familiar with Andal, one of the Alvars, the only lady Alvars of Sri Vaishnavism, promoting devotion. And Andal, in dream, she saw Lord Vishnu marrying her in dream. And that is how the story, at least as how I understand this. Perhaps maybe Sudarshan, Chitra, some others may want to fill in here. But Andal has a dream. And then we all know Andal composes great Tamil scriptures around devotion to Lord Vishnu. Yeah. And I want to talk to you about Srinivasan Ramanujan. Yeah. Ramanujan is the man who is one of the greatest mathematicians that this world has ever seen or known. Yeah. And this guy, he's mathematical genius. This has been chronicled in his biography of him actually saying, my inspiration and solutions to the mathematical problems came through my dreams through goddess of Namakkal, Namagiri Amma. And that is what Ramanujan also has actually documented that. And this has been, written. There's a lot of things that have been written about his dreams as actually giving him a solution to all the mathematical problems that he solved in his brief life that he had. Yeah. So I'm just picking up these geniuses, these exemplar examples where dreams have actually been they've actually helped solve problems. Artha Kriya Karitva, again another evidence to prove that dreams are real. Now, here is another answer to Mohan, your question, the definition of reality. Yeah, the definition of reality is it happens in a space, time, coordinate. Anything that happens in a time, space, coordinate is reality, is the view of the Vedic rishis. Yeah, Vedic rishis will say if something happens in a space-time correlation, that is reality. That is the definition of reality. If it's a hare's horn, for example, never exists in space. Yeah. So it is an illusion. So if you look at sleep, I am sleeping, I go to bed at 10 o'clock, I'm going into rapid eye movement sleep at 11 o'clock. So there is a time. And there is my brain, which is going through electrical activity, which is real. And there is chemical activity, which is real. And it is happening at that particular space. So the chemical and electrical activity of the brain happens in a space-time correlation. So there is the ultimate proof that dreams are real. The concept of dream as an illusion is a complete myth. Yeah, it has no scientific basis at all. I am yet to listen to anybody who can give me a rational explanation as to why dreams are an illusion. Dreams are real. Otherwise, our great Varuna would not be bringing up dreams and talk about dream states of consciousness. Okay, I still haven't come to why Varuna has said this. To get what Varuna is indicating in this mantra, I had to give you all these basics about dreams and then talk about what is Varuna's take in all this. So what is Varuna now is saying? He is saying Swapnasthanaha Antaha Prajnaha. So where is that Swapnasthana, the supreme being? So I have now, I hope, illustrated that dreams are real and dreams are created by the supreme. So Varuna is saying that real dream that supreme creates, what is his sthana? Where is it? Where is he in this body where he sits and creates this dream? And it's that Swapnasthanaha, our Vedic literature will say it is in the Vishuddha Chakra, which is in the neck, where the thyroid gland is. Yeah. And that is the view of our rishis, that in the thyroid gland, where the thyroid gland is, that is the Vishuddha Chakra, which is where the Supreme Brahman is, who actually coordinates and runs the dreams for the jivas. Okay. Now, I did a little bit of literature search to understand the role of thyroxine, T3 and T4, TSH in dreams. Okay. Here are all important points from recent day publications. I've seen quite a few papers published around this. The role of thyroid gland and thyroxine in particular in the NREM, REM cycles. And thyroxine has been shown to play a key role in NREM, REM cycle. And we know that REM is the place, that is a rapid eye movement sleep, is when the dream actually happens, which is the stage 4 of the sleep. We all know that thyroid disorders affect sleep. And there is even a study that has actually looked at in patients with hypothyroidism, looking at their REM and NREM sleep patterns before initiating thyroxine therapy, and then initiating thyroxine therapy and looking at REM sleep. And what they find is in hypothyroidism, REM sleep is considerably reduced. So I am not surprised when our rishis say that this Vishuddha chakra, where the thyroid gland is what regulates the dream. To me, it makes interesting correlations with what we know from medical science and the roles of thyroxine. We know myxedema, hypothyroidism. We know myxedema madness, which gives problems in the brain. So we are all familiar with how thyroxine can alter the state of the mind. So there is your link about Vishuddha chakra, thyroid gland, and REM sleep. Okay. Now, what is the Rishi's view, which I find quite fascinating, is what is the view as to how the dream actually happens? This is what it says, Swapnasthanaha antaha prajnaha. So if you look at our scriptures, the way they describe this is the vasanas. This is the imprints of memory, which is there in the Vijnanamaya Kosha. This is like the film roll. And this Brahman is like this projector. And he's projecting this, the light rays that are going in, and these things are going, and the screen there is the mind. Yeah, the mind is also called Tejasa, and it is also, as we know, is Vijnanamaya Kosha. Certain components, particularly the Chitta component of the mind, forms the Vijnanamaya Kosha. And then you have the Jiva. This poor Jiva is not actually doing anything. He's got all these imprints. So this Brahman is taking these imprints of the Vasanas and putting it on the mind, and the Jiva just sees this. Yeah. So that is why our Varuna says, Pravivikta book, Tejasa. So Brahman shows and he sees as a witness of the dreams, whereas the Jiva sees the dreams and experiences the pain and the pleasure that he gets during the dreams. So this experience is of subtle stuff. What he is experiencing is this subtle modification of the mind stuff that Brahman is putting on the screen called the mind that he is seeing. Yeah. So that form of the Supreme who is in the thyroid gland is called Tejasa. Why is it called Tejasa? Tejas means inner light. It is like the inner cinema, which is the mind. So he is this Brahman, as we said from the Ishvara concept, he's pervaded everywhere. So he's also in the Vijnanamaya Kosha. He is there. He's also in the thyroid gland. So together he coordinates and he throws this light, Tejas. In the mind is, as I said, is Tejas. So he forms the dreams in the Vijnanamaya Kosha. So he is inside the Tejas. Therefore, he is called Tejasa. Okay. Pravivikta book, Tejaso Dvitiya Padaha. But what is he? He's Saptangaha Ekona Vimshati Mukaha. Again, Varuna is very clever here. He says the same form of the Supreme, which was described in the Jagarati state, the same form of the Supreme now is sitting in the thyroid gland area or the Vishuddhi Chakra and coordinating the dream. So this fellow has 7 angas, 4 hands, 2 legs, and 1 trunk. So last week we discussed what the 7 angas are. That is a quiz for today. So who remembers this and who is going to tell us what those 7 angas actually meant? Two legs, 4 hands, a trunk. There are number 7. So what is that significance of number 7? Harish.
This is the parts of the body like the skin and the muscle, bones, marrow.
Brilliant. Yes, sir. Thank you. Well done. So it's the right answer. This is the Sapta Dhatus. So the point there is, if I don't have a body, I'm not going to dream. Yeah. So having this functioning living body is essential. And those 7 layers of the body is also pervaded by the supreme being is the concept about the 7 angas. Now, what about 19 phases? The 19 phases here is slightly different from the 19 phases of the Jagrati state. In the Jagrati state, we had 10 indriyas, whereas here it becomes 10 pranas. Of course, you need the 10 indriyas in the waking state, because those are all the things that creates the memory that goes into your Vijnana Maya Kosha that comes out. Yeah. So the 5 bhutas, 10 pranas, of course, you need to have manas, buddhi, ahankara, and chitta. So these 4, of course, you need to have for the dreams. So the 19 phases and 7 dhatus together form saptangaha eko na vimshati mukaha pravivikta book tejaso dvitiya padaha. Okay, so this is the scientific view of our rishis. This is the scientific view of Varuna as to how the dream actually happens. So just to summarize, so Jagarati state, when the whole equation is there with the external world. The dream state is when when the contact with the external world is lost, and it is the inner world that the jiva sees, controlled by the supreme. So the question there is, why bother to know all this? So we had a brief discussion last week as to why should we know about the dream state and the wakeful state. Suresh had a very good answer for that last week. So now I'm bringing it back again. Why bother? Why should we know about the dream state and the Jagrati state? So can I have some contributions there, please? Okay, so let me take this up. So here one is, of course, these 2 states still tell us, it tells everything about how dependent jivas are in these 2 states of consciousness. Okay, in the waking state, it thinks that it owns everything, but actually it is not owning anything. The very misunderstanding that it owns everything is it results in its state of samsara. Yeah, that is in the waking state. And in the dream state, of course, the jiva has no control with regards to what kind of dreams he or she is going to get. So again, they are not in control of the dream world that they are experiencing during the dream state. Again, bringing home the message that the jivas are always dependent on the antaryamin for these 2 states of consciousness. Yeah, Swatantram Paratantram cha Dvividam Tattvamishyase Swatantro Bhagavan Vishnuhu. We have done this so many times. So the jivas are always dependent. But another key message for us to know about the Jagaritistana and the Sushuptistana is both states are wonderful states. Look at the external world. It's so wonderful. It's so variegated. It's amazing, isn't it, the external world? Look at the dream state, the dreams that we have, the things that we do, the things that we do in our dreams and experience in our dreams is also wonderful. So like how Acharya says in Dwadasha Stotra, he wants us to remind ourselves again, Bahuchitra Jagat Bahuda Karanat Parashaktihi Ananta Gunaha Paramaha. See, if this external world is so beautiful, if this dream world is so amazing, imagine the creator, how amazing he should be. So those are all the 2 key concepts that we should get by actually studying the Mandukya Upanishad, particularly around the Jagaritistana and the Sushupti and the Swapnasthana state. So that is why we have to be bothered about it. That is why we need to know about these states, because then we understand the inner philosophical truths that Varuna is trying to tell us. Okay.
Madhuji,
Now,
there is another way perhaps we can see that when we are in dream state, somehow we are helpless, right? We feel that we are helpless. So we are so much dependent. Somehow we sleep and somehow we wake up. In between, what happens, God knows, right?
yeah,
But then we do wake up, right?
yes,
So we are dependent on something else to just wake up, right? Just for that mere thing that happens every day, we are completely dependent on somebody.
yeah,
And
amazing, very
if you
well
look
put,
at
Mohan.
the comparison between the 2 states. Sorry, you were saying something.
No, so Mohan, go on, complete your views.
Yeah, and if you look at these 2, one thing that is common is we were talking about a tiger. So curiously, now I can say that I have never seen a tiger, because all I have seen is its imprint in my mind, right? So whatever image my mind creates, that's what I see. I actually never see a tiger, right?
Are you
So
saying that? Are you saying then that the tiger that you've seen in the zoo, you have not actually seen the tiger?
I never saw anything, right? I mean, I see only what my mind has an imprint, some projection happening, and that's no different from what I see in dream.
Yeah.
So, is dream real? In that sense, dream is as real as reality is. Because for me, as an experiencer, that experience has to happen through this projection of mind, and therefore it doesn't matter, right? Whatever projection happens in mind is what matters, and which, as you said, is that real in space and time, because it's some real chemicals doing something in real time, but both are then similar states. And as helpless I am in dream state, there is this illusion perhaps that I am in control in wakeful state.
Yeah,
So
that's very well
that
put.
perhaps illusion.
That's very well put, Mohan. I can't agree with you more on that. The illusion there is that I feel I am in control. That is where the Brahma is, or the illusion is, but the dependence is all over. Now, we have not gone to the third state, which probably we'll be doing next week. That is the state of Sushupti. That is a state of utter helplessness. That Sushupti state where we are not even dreaming. And some people actually pass away in their Sushupti stage, they never wake up as well. So that is a state of ultimate dependence that we will see next week. Okay, so now I hope this taking you through the sequence of the physiology of dream from a Vedic perspective is interesting and scientific enough. But I'm really grateful for Devalji to actually remind us what is the current physiological and medical view of dreams. And she's got a few slides here to exchange her thoughts. And I think what we can do is we can finish today's session by actually comparing and contrasting how our Vedic rishis have been spot on with regards to describing the dreams and their philosophical and physiological significance. So Devalji, the slide is yours to tell us about what is the physiological and medical view of dreams as of 2021. Devalji, as some of you may know, is a consultant psychiatrist. So she thinks about the problems of the mind all the time. So I thought she will be a good person to enlighten us about the current views of dreams. Deval.
Uh, Namaste, everybody. Madhu, it's a bit unfair after listening to the whole talk. I feel like, somebody like who's going to do a Viva exam after the topper in the class. So please excuse it. I'm saying to the whole group, please excuse my presentation. I just wanted to say something before I begin. So I don't know whether it is true for everybody else, but it's certainly true for me. My first lecture in the series was about a year ago, which was on metaphors and their significance in Veda, which was done on 22nd of March, 2020. So this is a year's eve. So thank you for the opportunity, Madhu, for allowing me to present a few slides. And these slides are dedicated to you as our guru on behalf of the whole group. So that's what I wanted to say before I begin. So I'm just going to quickly whiz through dreams and some of the recent psychology behind it and physical and mental health issues associated with sleep and dream. I think I'm quite amazed some of the things are already covered. So that was quite interesting. So I just want to start with the definition. So the definition of a dream is a series of thoughts, images, or sensations that occur in the mind during sleep. So that's what a dream is. It occurs, as we all know, and we have discussed the electrical activity of the brain before in terms of EEG monitoring. And I'll come to that in a minute. But so we know there are two types of sleep. One is where there are rapid eye movements, and the bit there are no rapid eye movements. And dreams occur mostly in non-rapid eye movements of sleep. The electrical activity of the brain in sleep is getting slower and slower. However, in dream state, the brain is as active as it is when it is awake. The eye muscles and the diaphragm, which is the breathing, is working, and all the rest of the skeletal muscles are not working. And some facts is that everybody dreams about 2 hours every night. They occur in bursts of 5 to 20 minutes. So initially at the first 90 minutes when your REM occurs, it could be 5 to 7 minutes, but as you're waking up, they get longer and longer towards wakefulness. And they fade very quickly once you wake up. Why do we dream? So there is lots and lots of literature about why we dream. And in science, if there is a lot of literature, that means nobody knows exactly what's going on. So there are a lot of theories, and different papers have looked at different things. But I think I've sort of jotted down the main themes here. So it definitely talks about memory, learning, and problem solving. So the areas of the brain that are important, which work with that, with functions with that, it's important. It is important for brain and CNS development, which is this whole of the central nervous system, because we dream differently as a child, and the sleep and dream patterns change as we grow. And the amount of time we sleep changes as well. Some theories, it says that the brain is active and sleep is just a byproduct. Some people have researched and said that we dream about, so we are still receiving external stimuli, and then it just becomes a dream. So for example, studies have done with subjects who sleep with music in their ear, and they dream that music in their dream, or if they feel cold in their dream, and are searching for a blanket. Some of the theories talk about cleaning up the mind clutter and removing daytime experience, because we take in a lot of data with our 5 perceptions, and sometimes it's not necessary. So it's like a detox thing. Some psychologists talk about it being a psychotherapy which connects your thoughts and emotions, which you don't have time to do during the day, and you can do that in dreams. And then there are a lot of combination theories which sort of combine a few of these theories, and we'll see them in a subsequent slides. So what are the characteristics of dreams? So there are very common themes. One is the illogical content, the things that doesn't logically logical things that happen during daytime it doesn't matter during the dreams. There is intense emotions, and this is both dreams and nightmares. So you feel an intense sense of, so even though you feel fear, it is very intense. You can have bizarre sensory experiences, and the mind seems to accept strange concepts which it won't accept during waking state. And there is a difficulty in remembering the dream content. And I can talk a little bit about memory and dream if time permits later. So the common themes of dreams or contents of dreams are being chased, falling, being naked, failing a test, flying, losing teeth, dying, infidelity. And the recurring toilet nightmare is usually seen as you're waking up where you want to go to you want to go to the toilet, but you can't find one. So these are some of this is not an exhaustive list, but yeah. So psychology and dreams. So a lot of work has been done in about last 120 years. Everybody knows of Sigmund Freud. He's the father of modern psychoanalysis. And he wrote a book. He did a lot of study on the content of people's dreams. And he wrote a book called Interpretations of Dreams. So the thing he talks about is that we have a conscious mind and we also have an unconscious mind, where there is a lot of feelings, emotions, thoughts, etc. And the conscious mind tries to suppress that, because if you wish something and it can't happen in reality, in your day-to-day functioning that can happen in your dream. And interpreting those dreams, he called the content of the dream as a royal road to the unconscious mind. And he came up with lots of theories after that. And he also brought in a concept of manifest content of dream and a latent content of dream. So manifest is what we see. So that's the story of what happens in your dream. And the latent bit is the metaphor. So what is the underlying meaning of what you have seen? Carl Jung is another psychoanalyst. He was Freud's contemporary. He agreed with Freud, but disagreed with some of the things. And I've taken two, I mean, I'm not a psychoanalyst and that's not my day job, but I think these two, I think Madhu has touched in his talk. So I'll just elaborate a bit. So archetypes or symbols or metaphors are something that happens in dreams, which, for example, there is the wise old man, the tree of life, and he's got examples of certain people or things that happen in the dream. They have universal symbolic meaning. And he also introduced the concept of a collective unconscious, so which is different to Freud's unconscious. So Freud's unconscious is just about the person and a personal unconscious, whereas the collective unconscious exists generationally. So it could be within your hereditary or within the species, and there is a collective of it. And that is his, that is what he came up with. And we can't think, because it is so deep in your mind, you can't think of, it never comes in your waking psyche, and hence that is what comes in your dream. Now these two theories, I mean, and a lot of psychoanalytical theories received criticism because it's not scientifically proven. There's no, there's no way to sort of know whether this is true or not. And typically dream relies on the person who's dreaming to give you the data. And by definition, forgetfulness is a quality of dreaming. So there is an intrinsic difficulty in getting good studies. But the two newer theories, this is 1970s and 2000, Hall described dream as a cognitive process. So it's just simply that there is thoughts that are occurring during sleep, but instead of abstract things, they are they occur as objects of figures, and then there is a setting and interactions that goes on, like a picture. And then Domhoff came up with a neurocognitive theory, which means that the dream is a reflection and a continuation of waking life, which I'll talk to in a minute. Yeah. So Hobson and McCarley, they worked at Harvard Medical School. They came up with the activation synthesis model, which I think their conclusion was there is brain activity in sleep. So we know that there is electrical activity. There are certain parts of the brain that are very active, which is the amygdala and the hippocampus. So the limbic system, which we talked about, which is involved in emotions, sensations, and more important in memories. And these areas of the brain are activated. And there is quite a rapid activity. These circuit of the brainstem, which when get activated, brain synthesizes that and interprets that activity, attempts to create a meaning, and then that is what we experience as a dream. So that's their theory. And what Domhoff did was he sort of did a literature search, and he came up with a lot of papers which had these three themes. So people with brain injuries do have dreams, but if certain specific regions of the brain are damaged, they don't, it has a differential effect on dreaming. So the conclusion there is you need an intact neural network, which was described before, for dream to occur. Then there are some studies done on children where they wake up children, I think up to 13 years of age, and only 20 to 30% of the awakenings led to dream reports. So they still forgot quite a lot. And these are children under 9, and they also found the children under even children under 5 dream, but they only see maybe a picture or like an object. There isn't motion. And then they did content analysis. So dream interpretation is another big area, minefield, lots of literature there. But what the two themes that emerged in that is that dreams have repetitive nature. So what that means is you can have the same dream, but on different nights. And it is continuous with what is happening in your waking life and your emotional preoccupation, which is going on around in your life at that time. So their theory is that dreaming is important for developmental cognitive achievement. Maturation and maintenance of the networks is important, and the output is dreaming, which is based on your personal concern, which can be the continuity principle, and emotional preoccupations, which causes the repetition of the dreams. So I didn't find anything, as we know, it is very difficult to study it. So I didn't find anything on inadequate dreams. People do report that they don't dream or they don't remember anything in their dream. But if we don't sleep all right, psychologically, there are common psychological symptoms like fatigue, irritability, memory and concentration problems. And if it is continuous, then it can become paranoia and you can end up with hallucinations. But also physical effects like hypertension, heart attacks, weight gain and obesity, diabetes, depression, anxiety, memory loss, decreased immune system, decreased fertility, and psychiatric disorders. I mean, I don't know of any psychiatric disorder that doesn't affect sleep, but it's a difficult one because I don't know whether it's a cause or an effect. Yeah, but most of them will cause. So just to summarize, I mean, dreams affect our physical and mental health, same as waking experiences do. Quite simply, they tell us the emotional truth of our life and how we are experiencing life. There's some studies about if you're having poor physical health, you have more, like bodily misfortune content in your dreams. And sometimes vivid dreams are accompanied by low blood sugar or in pregnancy. So we know that there are some hormonal changes in pregnancy. And getting a good quality REM sleep is a key tool in managing anxiety and stress. And sometimes dream is just a dream. There is probably no deeper meaning. But there are a number of things that dreams can indicate about mental health, especially if they are recurring, intense, or stressful. Also, nightmares are fairly common. It's a fairly common phenomena. It's not necessarily, indication of mental disorder, but it can be triggered by stress and anxiety. And yeah, I mean, it is not on the slide, but I did research a little bit about what's called as dream amnesia and why the dreamer wakes up. Most of the dreams are forever lost. The memory for the dream vanishes unless it is written down or recorded, even if it is quite intense and emotional. And it is not clear from neuroimaging studies or limbic studies because all the areas that are activated are implicated in the memory processes and formation of memory, and they are highly active during REM sleep. But sometimes some people have sort of given an explanation that because what we experience in the dream is not tied to the external reality, they tend to be forgotten. So yeah, so that was another thing that was there. And that's it really. Shri Krishna Paramastu. That's my.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Devalji. That's a good review, actually. Gives us definitely a different angle, but I certainly can see a lot of overlaps with what the scriptures say and what the modern views. There's a lot of overlaps that I can see. So on that note, what I was going to remind people is we have spoken a lot about dream state from a scriptural perspective, from a medical perspective. Next week, we're going to look at what is a dreamless state. There is another component of sleep where we don't dream. We are just there and we are completely unaware of the external world. We are completely unaware of the activity of the mind and the brain. So this state, our rishis and philosophers described this as a Sushupti. Yeah. And Varuna talks about the Sushupti state, and he describes what is that Sushupti state of the jivas and what we can learn from our own perspective, not only the greatness of the Supreme, but also our own situation in the Sushupti state. That's really an interesting concept of perception of space, perception of time. All those things come in the Sushupti state. So we will discuss this next week. So that is to be continued the following week. So Krishna Pranamastu. I hope you found this session interesting. Thanks, Deval, once again for getting all the research evidence for today's talk. And Sudarshan, back to you
Yeah.
for Q&A.
Okay, thank you, Madhu. I think the way, today just I thought like, these two lectures, it's been very interesting about the dreams and everything. Maybe I think it will be very popular lecture series. We advertise it separately, by you, like sometimes, Vedic interpretation of sleep and dreams. That itself will go very well. Like, people will be very much interested. Sometimes, we need to kindle the interest of the people to get the attention. So in that sense, like, Vedic interpretation of dream and sleep will be a very good way to get the attention of people. Rather than like, I mean, of course, we can say Advaita, talk on Advaita, that will also evince a lot of interest. But sometimes, with the younger generation, it may be a good way to Vedic interpretation of dream and sleep. And then, when they come here, you'll be talking about all those Vedic concepts anyway. So I thought that will be good one we can try
Yeah,
in the future.
sure, Sudarshan. Excellent. Yeah, I fully agree. Maybe we'll do it like one of those workshops. Maybe we'll also get some expert on this because I certainly am not an expert of dreams.
Oh, no, 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 no. What I say is, as a way of getting, it will be
Yes,
one of lecture somewhere, somewhere else, for another
sure.
organization somewhere else.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. More
Can I come in here, Sudarshan? That's quite interesting because when I was researching this, there is only one article by an Indian author that came up which talks about this dream and philosophical explanations of dream. And it mentions Mandukya Upanishad. That's sort of like, and his conclusion was the Western world is sort of doesn't know, hasn't looked at the Eastern philosophical issues about Vedas. It does, I mean, Wikipedia has one line and it mentions Buddhism, it's in the Vedas, that's it. So there isn't much literature out there on.
That's right. We need to do more work actually. And also, Madhu, I think maybe one day I might invite you to come and talk to one of the group of psychiatrists about this, like, or neurologists and everything. So it'll be very interesting. So whatever you're talking, just you don't need to do any extra preparation. Whatever you're doing today, it will be brilliant actually. Whatever,
Let's
So,
do it. Let's do it. So I got an interesting question from Mohan. I think it's directed to you, Deval. Someday, please tell us, also talk about hypnosis, past life regression therapy, as in if any of this truly exists or is it just pseudoscience? So maybe we should include that. Mohan, thanks for that.
Hypnosis, I think, is explained by dissociation. Sorry, I'm just talking like a psychiatrist now. It's a process. It's where you're conscious. You are conscious. It happens when you in your awaking state, but you are you can't take in all you can't take in everything. and then you can suggest something, but there isn't real loss of consciousness as such. And it is in intrinsic character of the person who is hypnotized rather than the person who is hypnotizing. So people can be hypnotized or not. It's about control over your mind. Past life regression therapy, there is a very famous book. I forgot the author who has, apparently he has proof of audio tapes about this girl who has, through eons and taken so many life births and deaths. I mean, it fits in with our theory about multiple lives and births, but I'm not sure whether its status as a therapy. That's my personal view, because therapy means something that is supposed to, change some. Yeah, I'm not sure about it being a psychotherapy.
Thanks, Deval. So there is a question from Harish here. Is there other description of Sadasat Vilakshana? What is different from real and non-existent mean? Good question, Harish. So this is, this has been discussed for 1400 years. What is Sadasat Vilakshana? So I think we probably need to have a separate session on that. But my own assessment of this, having whatever little I've done over the last 20-25 years, I'm convinced Sadasat Vilakshana equals Asat. Yeah. So there is no difference between Sadasat Vilakshana and Asat. It is just a different vocabulary to say the same thing. Yeah. So, but that we can discuss this later, but that is what it means essentially. We can take it up outside this meeting.
Oh, thanks, Manju.
Those are all the questions, Sudarshan, that we have in
Yes,
chat.
more questions?
Yes, Madhu, it's Ajit here. You briefly touched upon what is real. Now, the illusions that we see, or the illusionists who show you things, they all exist in time and space coordinate, as you mentioned about real stuff. So till things are not revealed to you, it remains real. So basically go back to Mohan's question in that to say, is anything real for in that sense? Because until something is revealed to you, everything appears real to you. So it's just trying to get it clear in my head as to what exactly do we mean by real and sort of non-existent.
Yeah, sure. So the illusion thing that you mentioned, Ajit, about so let's take the snake on the rope. So it is dark, you're walking in the field, there is a rope that is on the ground. Because of inadequate light, somehow you perceive that rope to be a snake, and then you're frightened, whatever. So there, that snake is an illusion. Yes, do you agree with me there at all? It's an illusion. Why is it an illusion? Because the space-time is not qualified there. Because space is what that snake should really be there. There is only rope there. There is no snake. So the snake was not at all there in the first place. So it has not occupied a space. Yeah. So that space and time has not been met. That criterion has not been met. So that is an illusion. Now, the reason why you have perceived the snake is because this is called Artha Indriya Sannikarsha. That is the contact between the object and the sense organ. That contact between the object and the sense organ has not been optimal. Because it has not been optimal, your eyes have sent some signals to the brain, and the brain has now identified with a similar object that it has seen before. So it is something within your mind that you have developed this illusion, because previously you have seen a snake. Previously you have seen a real snake, and the appearance of this rope here seems to be like the snake, and your brain has actually linked both, and then you get an illusion. So there, the snake was not at all there. So that space and time criterion has not been met. Yeah. So this is a key definition of reality. Yeah. And what is asat is, so there is a technical term for this, forgive this, it's called Traikalika Nisheda Pratiyogitvam. So that is a technical term for what asat is. Asat is that which does not qualify this. Either it is never there in time. For example, a hare's horn or a sky lotus never exists in time. So that is an illusion. That is an asat. Yeah, or the space, the snake never existed, so that is an asat. So anything that does not exist in all three times is asat. Anything that exists at least in one time point with a space correlation is sat. So that is the classic definition in Vedanta. But this discussion can go on. So the reality is there are two definitions: space time. The other one is it has to be of certain use, artha kriya karitva. So it has to be of some use. As I said, a mirage, you can't quench your thirst with mirage. Yeah, the snake on the rope, it is not going to come and bite you and you're going to die. It is not a poisonous snake that it will bite you. So that is not going to happen. So those are two common definitions that are used to define what is real and what is not real. Hope it made sense. Sorry,
Yeah,
it's
it
a,
does.
it's a
Thank
long
you.
time.
Thanks a lot.
Sorry, can I just come in here, because I mean, there is only one mention in something I read that the quality of dream can be illogical, and then the space and the time is used in a bizarre way. But when the dream, when the people were woken up to tell, to do the when they were doing studies, they found that the perception of the passage of time was like a real time. So if you had a 5-minute dream, but in the dream everything is bizarre, but when they woke up, they sort of somehow knew that that is the time they had been dreaming or sleeping.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. They will again goes to show that dream is real.
Thank you, Madhu and Deval. I mean, I had to discuss one more thing, Madhu. I think because next week, the last year when we started, it was summertime. So we were doing the class at 5 o'clock, and then we shifted to 4 o'clock when the winter time came. But next week, next Sunday, we'll going back to British summertime again. So are we okay still to stay at 4 o'clock, so that like some of the Indian people who are joining, they might find it useful? And what do you all think? Like, rather than going back to 5 o'clock again, it might be that we still stick to the 4 o'clock. Uh,
Sure, Sudarshan, can I come in first if that's all right? I think 4 o'clock works. We've got used to it. And thing is, if we finish by 5:30, then we can get on with the rest of daily activities after 5:30. And
yes,
believe me, there may be quite a few. So I'm happy to do at 4. But if the vote here is at 5, perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
4 okay with everybody?
Yeah.
Yes, I think 4 p.m. should be
Yeah,
fine.
4 is fine. Yeah.
Is ideal.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
fine.
works well.
So
Yeah.
Sudarshan, the other thing I also wanted to mention is before we go, then we've also been discussing about annual day celebrations. Yeah, and I'll talk to you about the itineraries and finer details of this.
Yeah.
And we are looking at 23rd of May, exactly 2 months from now, as Hindu Knowledge Academy's annual day celebration with some really high profile speakers and stuff like that. So there is a few things planned. So please mark in your calendar, please. 23rd of May as the annual celebration. Any contributions, any ideas with regards to what else we can do on the day will be good, I think. I think it has to be a collective effort. And like before, we'll have a team that coordinates the events on the day. But looks like we might have a high profile speaker already. So once it's confirmed, I'll let everyone know.
Sure. Brilliant, boss. That is really good news. And yeah, we'll stick to 4 o'clock for the classes and mark the 23rd May. And if is there any other questions? If not, we'll say Om to both Madhu and Deval for the contribution. Thank you, boss. Thank you, everybody. Yeah.
Thank you.
Care.
Thank you.
Bye.